Cheryl, long time no see.
Hi, Jane. It's so great to be back in front of you face to face.
Yeah. Cheryl, you and I have known each other 10 years. When I got into this business in 2015, you were sort of my inspiration. You were at the time, you had a lot of businesses. You had a franchise brokerage business. You were a loan facilitator, if I remember correctly. So many things. And you guys owned a print shop. So I have followed Cheryl for a long time, and she is, I'll just say, a classic example of when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I mean, Cheryl and her husband Greg have had some setbacks over the years that she shared with me. And, it's a good example of you need to pivot and things will work out if you work hard enough. And nobody works harder than Cheryl. She's involved in the chamber and in a million other things. And I'm so happy to interview you because your business is so unusual. And I think people have a lot of misconceptions about the business. And back when you and I started, we used to call it crime cleanup.
We did crime scene cleanup.
And I used to present it to people, and they would be like, "Are you out of your freaking mind? I'm not doing that." And I sort of put it in this category of unsexy businesses with
Mhm.
sexy profitability. Um,
Yes.
and so let's dive in. And I just want to say Cheryl and her husband own Bio One of Denver, a biohazard remediation firm specializing in illicit drug testing and decontamination. She's a
Yes.
certified expert in the field. She's earned multiple awards for her dedication and her hard work, and she's extremely involved in the community here in Denver.
Yes.
And so let's dive in, and I have some crazy questions for you, starting with what do you think is the biggest misconception about this business for somebody who just maybe is thinking about investing in a franchise and perhaps their broker, like me, has the misfortune of presenting this crazy idea? What do you think is the first thing that comes to mind, and then what it really is? And share a little bit about that for us.
Well, as a broker, back when I was presenting this all those years ago, people thought it was just this exciting thing. You get to go on crime scenes and see all these things, and then you're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And while it might be a little interesting, that excitement really is a misconception. You're really dealing with people in trauma,
Yeah.
whether it's a crime scene or a suicide or a hoarding position or hoarding situation, or in our case, drug remediation, because it's every one of those things involves somebody in trauma.
Yeah.
And for example, on a suicide, you may or may not meet the family or the loved ones, but when you know that, for example, a dad takes his life, you walk in the house and there's kids' toys on the floor, and you see pictures, it makes it real. And we get through it by saying we know we're helping somebody.
Yeah.
And yes, the profit margins are there, but that's really a big misconception that it's this big exciting thing and you're going to be on a crime scene all the time interacting with police and such. They're usually gone by the time we get there.
Yeah. And a lot of the business now I've heard from people is hoarding. Uh,
Yeah,
Mama needs to sell the house. She's moved into assisted living, and the kids are like, "Oh my God, we're never going to be able to sell this."
right. Or a lot of times nobody's been in the house in a hoarding situation for years because they won't let them in. They haven't been in for 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And then maybe she breaks her hip, goes into the hospital, and then there's a discovery of
Yeah.
what the situation is. The other thing is you have to have a lot of compassion. And
Yeah.
that's something,
That's
and
the number one thing, right? You have to be willing to
absolutely.
meet people on the worst day of their lives, deal
Yes.
with them with compassion, and you're kind of the savior. They don't want to look at that. They don't want to, they want it to be clean, and you get to come in and kind of restore whatever the situation is so they can even walk in and deal with it in any kind of way, right?
That's right. That's right. And I'll tell you what I didn't anticipate was the impact that this business has had on me personally. And through the years, we've been at this, we're now in year 8, is my now interest in mental health
Yeah.
and my personal passion for supporting those in our community in mental health. I'm actually involved with the state suicide commission.
Yeah.
I have other nonprofits around mental health, and supporting them and becoming involved with that mission is something that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, so you found another passion, another way you can give back because you're a giver. And this business really is for people, I think, who are givers. I don't think it's for somebody who just wants to make money. They're not going to succeed. Let's talk about, I think we already covered the next question that I had. So I'm going to dive into what are some basic services and things that you've done to expand your revenue lines and your offerings, I would say, to your community over the years. So it started out this and now you've been adding these other things. So what else? What are all the different things that your company can offer?
Well, aside from the basics, which is the crime and trauma cleanup, the hoarding, we discovered the opportunity to clean up vehicles and properties that have drug contamination, the illicit drugs. In addition to just decontaminating them, we have a exciting machine. It's actually what they use at border crossings and at airports. And we can test vehicles and properties. And it is so interesting to see the drugs that it comes up with, including carfentanil, which is much more dangerous than fentanyl.
Hmm.
And that is becoming such a need that we are actually becoming more of a forensic drug remediation company than the other services.
Yeah, I was just curious, how would one even know that there was a problem? I mean, if let's say you have a rental house, it's just something that you should do as a matter of course when somebody moves out. If you have any question, you should just have the house checked.
That's a good point. We're trying, in fact, your friend, I'm part of her organization that's out doing education. She and I will be together actually tomorrow
Mhm.
doing this. And just education and getting the word out. And realtors and or sellers or buyers are starting to do that as well. If you find someone finds paraphernalia, the same with stolen vehicles.
Yeah,
We were the number one theft state for vehicles. We're down, I think, number three now. But when paraphernalia is found
yeah,
in vehicles, then the testing is done, and we might do it, or someone else might do it, and then it's looked at as one that needs to be decontaminated,
yeah,
clean.
yeah. And so we talked about how it started with you and Greg, and I imagine there were technicians. And
Started
how,
with me, actually, not me and Greg, not Greg and
oh,
me.
you.
He was running our printing business.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. So it was me and one employee, and then we're one technician, and then we grew.
Yeah,
And so at that point, we hired on more technicians, and I was in the field, in the suit, so to speak, the white bunny suit, and all the PPE. And then I was doing marketing when I wasn't on a job, so to speak. And then it just began to grow. So I hired more technicians, and to the point we are today, where we have five technicians. We're looking for a sixth. We have taken ourselves out of the field.
yeah, yay.
Yes, that's how you grow a business.
Yep.
Can't- For business, for anyone considering this type of business, you do need to put the hammer away if you're in a restoration business, get out of the suits for us, and work on your business instead of in it.
And lastly, what one piece of advice would you offer for somebody who was thinking about getting into this business? This, or I would say restoration business is quite similar. This kind of a dirty business. What piece of
Mhm.
advice would you offer for someone considering this as a business for them?
Well, first of all, restoration and this business are both 24/7 emergency response businesses.
Right.
So consider that. And we do find it best if you are answering the phone or have someone very qualified to answer the phone
Right.
and be willing to deal with the business 24/7 to make sure you are capitalized in the beginning.
Yeah.
to have enough, especially with insurance jobs, because it takes a bit for those insurance job funds to come in.
Yeah.
After you're submitting your invoice, it can take up to 30 days. And then the other thing is just be willing to get your hands dirty in the beginning until you can get out of the suit.
Yeah. And I'm just curious, and we'll end on this. It's a weird place to end. What percentage of your revenue is insurance based? Almost all of it, right?
Well, no, it's not anymore because we're doing more hoarding and more drug,
Right.
which is less and less insurance based
So people don't file a claim for that.
because drugs aren't covered and hoarding aren't covered by insurance.
Oh, interesting. I had no idea.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. You've given everybody some food for thought. And with that, I'm going to end this recording. And it's so great to see you.
Wonderful time with you, Jane, as always.